Making a move is a big decision. I know my wife and I struggled with our decision to make a move. It actually took us quite a while to figure it all out, but when we did, we were happy with our decision, but it wasn't without probably over analyzing. And frankly, I wish I had more videos to look at to where we were moving to when we made the move. And that's part of the reason why I'm making these videos for you thinking about making a move to Los Angeles, because let's face it, LA is a big area. There's some mystery to it. And because it's so large, you maybe not be sure where you're going to be moving, what areas are the best fit for you. If you have a family, where does that work in Los Angeles? And that is why I put this video together about the top 15 things you should know before moving to Los Angeles. Okay, the first item on the list is knowing that the city of Los Angeles is enormous. And then it's actually, are you going to be living in the city of Los Angeles or the county of Los Angeles? Because there's a huge difference between those two as well. Now, let's just go over some basic numbers, because if you're coming from a small town or a smaller city, you can compare the numbers I'm about to give you to where you're currently living, just to get an idea of how vast and how big Los Angeles is. Now, if you're talking about the city of Los Angeles, population-wise, you're at about 4 million people. Yeah, you've heard it, 4 million people. That is a lot of people, which adds to a lot of congestion and just people on the roads, people walking on the streets, people in the restaurants, people in the shops. You're always going to be around people. Now, if you're talking about the LA County, you're up to 10 million people. Now, again, these numbers, being born and raised, it's just something I'm used to. I'm used to being around such a large number of people, but I can understand coming from a smaller city that this could be quite overwhelming and just not used to it. Now, if you're talking about the geography of LA, the city of LA is about 500 square miles, which is huge. It's not the biggest in the country, but it puts us up in the top 5 or so on that list. Now, LA County is another story. That's 4,700 square miles. I mean, that's a little bit unimaginable if you haven't experienced this. And the reason why this is important is because not so much that it's a big city, it's sprawled out, takes a long time to get places, but it's really about a little bit of a culture shock, because it's the same thing if you're going from a big city to a small city, there's a culture shock. It's the same when you're coming from a smaller city to a large city like Los Angeles. Even if you're coming from a larger metropolis or a metropolitan area in other parts of the country, it's still not going to be like the size of Los Angeles. And it could be overwhelming in the sense that you may get lost in the city, but not just like physically lost and figuring out where to go. That could be true of any place, but culturally lost, because there's so many different regions in Los Angeles City and LA County that it could be hard to get a feel of what makes sense for you, what's the right fit for you, and then how you feel about being in the city in itself when you're living in these specific regions. So again, it's because I'm putting this on the list because it can be very overwhelming coming to such a large, sprawled out city like Los Angeles. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of benefits being a big city, a lot of things to do, a lot of entertainment, a lot of amenities. That all comes with being in the big city of Los Angeles. If you want to know about different regions, as I discussed before, make sure you check out one of our other videos. And each of the regions within the city have its own form of entertainment, own form of culture. If you want to know more about that, more detailed information, make sure you check out one of my other videos on the channel that goes into a little bit more detail about the culture of various regions within the city of LA. But number one, just be prepared. When you're coming to Los Angeles, it's going to be big. It's going to be overwhelming. But if you got friends or family, they'll guide you, coworkers will guide you, and of course, your local real estate agent will guide you if you need any help. As a reminder, I'm Dave Fine with the Real Estate Dads, a local real estate agent right here in Los Angeles, and I love helping people relocate to Los Angeles because, well, it's my home city and I love helping people move here. If you are thinking about making the move, make sure you reach out to us by phone, text, email, whatever way is easier for you. And if you want to know more about the city before moving here, make sure you check out our videos, subscribe to the channel, tap the like button, tap the bell to get notified every time we drop a new video, because we love doing videos about what it's like to live, work, and play right here in the city of Los Angeles. All right, number 2 on the list is it's not about downtown. Now, when you think big cities, a lot of times you think, well, downtown's the place to go, it's the place to be, it's where your entertainment is, but not the city of Los Angeles. We are a sprawled out city. We were built along the car culture. We've got massive freeway systems, and frankly, LA is about which region that you're living in, and we'll talk about the regions later, but it is not about being downtown. Now, I will say, we'll talk briefly about the downtown Los Angeles area because it is growing in popularity and there are some pretty cool districts in there. You have places like the Jewelry District, the Arts District, the Financial District, the Flower District, the Fashion District, the Theater District. You got Chinatown, Little Tokyo, Pershing Square there, you've got Union Station. But even with all of that, now, and of course all your high-rise and your business centers there, but even with all of that, it's still not the place to go. Now, in recent years, about like 10 years or so, they built LA Live, which was a way to attract people to come to downtown area for more of an entertainment. They started building more condos and townhomes, really nice luxury places. That's where the crypto center is, where the Lakers and Clippers play. LA Live is a place where you've got entertainment, food, restaurants, bars, but it's still not a massive draw. And frankly, it's pretty dirty city. I mean, most downtowns are not the cleanest, but you're not really going to downtown when you're in Los Angeles. LA is more about the different regions. And that's why it's sometimes difficult for people, especially those that are not originally from the Los Angeles area, to really kind of feel or figure out what the heart of LA is, because in my opinion, there really isn't a heart of Los Angeles, even though we have a massive downtown district. Because again, it's just about the regions and how sprawled out we are. We've got West Los Angeles, that includes places like Mar Vista, Culver City. You've got Santa Monica and Venice along the coastline. You've got Beverly Hills. You've got the Hollywood area. You've got the South Bay or the beach cities area like Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach. You've got places like eastern portion of Los Angeles like Los Feliz and Echo Park. You've got Inglewood, which is a separate city, of course, but it's in Los Angeles County, right in there. You just have, and of course, the San Fernando Valley, a large region in the northern portion of Los Angeles. And so there's really no true center. Again, physically and geographically, yes, there's a downtown city in the center of Los Angeles. So it's important to know that when you're making the move to Los Angeles and you're trying to figure out where you want to be, you're probably looking at whether you have family here, where your work's going to be, but also you want to see where you're going to be fitting in as far as your lifestyle goes. And because downtown is not as important, you don't need to really worry about moving close to downtown because that's where all the entertainment is. Entertainment is everywhere. And again, it depends on what feel you want. If you got the beach, if you're more of a coastal and the beach person and like almost perfect weather year round, then you're going to want that west side coastal area. Now, it does come at a price. It's a lot more expensive to live there. It is, affordability is really challenging there. You've got the valley if you want more of the suburban lifestyle, a little bit more quieter, away from it all. And of course, you've got Hollywood, that would be kind of like the center of a lot of your clubs and your bar scenes and just kind of a lot of the nightlife. You've got Beverly Hills, which again is a little bit away from it all if you're in the hillside and you just shoot down the hills into the Hollywood area for your entertainment. You've got the beach cities between South Beach cities versus like Venice, Marina, and Santa Monica. They even have their own feel, and it'll depend on the vibe that you connect to. So it really depends on what you're looking for as far as lifestyle goes, what's calling to you, what's speaking to you, and you're not going to really know that until you do a little bit more research. Again, we've got videos on these various regions. Of course, I always encourage reaching out to family and friends that have lived in the LA area because they can share with you their stories. And of course, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to share you my stories of what it's like to grow up in the area and live in different regions of Los Angeles. Now, this brings us to our third topic, which is your neighborhood is your life. Now, again, because the city of Los Angeles is so sprawled out, you really become connected to the neighborhood and the region that you decide to live in. And I know this definitely from firsthand experience. When I lived in West LA, I really didn't venture out to many parts of Los Angeles. Yeah, I'd go to the valley to see some friends. I'm down the coast, which is kind of connected to West Los Angeles. I'd go into the Inglewood area once in a while. I really wouldn't hit up downtown much unless I had to go there, or eastern portions of Los Angeles, just because it's so sprawled out geographically, and because we have such a tremendous traffic problem and we don't have the greatest transit system, that it's hard to get around. And rather than just sitting in traffic trying to go somewhere, I can easily find everything I need within my own neighborhood, which is even more important to figure out where you want to live, because in most cases, you're going to be hanging out with the people, the community within your neighborhood. Now, that may seem obvious because you're living there, but it's even more emphasized in Los Angeles because you're probably not likely to venture out in multiple hours of traffic to get somewhere, and people that are living that far away from you are likely not going to be venturing out to go to you as well. So you really don't have that connection or feel with other regions of Los Angeles. Now, again, I do like to explore, so I have been to a lot of parts of Los Angeles, but in general, you're pretty much sticking within your own neighborhood. And that's why you want to figure out, if does the neighborhood that you're choosing to live in, does it meet your vibe? Are you surrounded by a community that you enjoy, the people that you enjoy? Hopefully it's close to family and friends already, so it makes your transition a lot smoother. And hopefully it's close to work to make your transition easier. Because as I mentioned, each region has its own vibe, whether you're in West LA, you're in Beverly Hills, you're in the San Fernando Valley, the beach cities, Santa Monica, Hollywood, the East Side, they all have their own feel. So it's very important you figure out what's going to be a good fit for you, because your neighborhood will definitely become your life. All right, number 4 on the list is kind of a fun one, and for one that I truly appreciate, because, well, maybe it's just because I was born and raised here, but it is a dressed down city. People don't really dress all that formal. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some jobs and careers and that you're going to need a suit up, but a lot of places don't require that anymore. We have a lot of creative space here and a lot of creative minds, and we just have like this relaxed feel. Even when you're going out to like fine dining and nice restaurants, you may throw on like a coat or something if you're a guy, or you may dress it up as a woman, but in general, you're casual. I mean, you're going in jeans many places. You've got shorts and a t-shirt on during the day just because the weather's so amazing. You're in flip-flops everywhere. And people just don't put a big emphasis on getting all dressed up. And I think it's cool, because for me, I just like to throw on some clothes and get going. I'm not too worried about, the image of my clothes. It's not who I am. And again, maybe it's because I was born and raised in that environment that it's not as important to me. But I just like that idea where there's not a lot of pressure to dress to impress. And so just make sure when you're coming to LA that you have an understanding that you're going to see people very casual. In fact, it's probably more common to see people in their workout clothes than it is actually being all dressed up. And that just goes again with not just the dress code, but it really kind of speaks to the lifestyle of Los Angeles. Again, you see people doing work in coffee shops or cafes, and they got high-end jobs, but they're in shorts and a t-shirt just relaxing, or maybe a Hawaiian shirt or whatever it is. Everyone's just chill, especially along the coastal section and the west side areas, but really it kind of spreads throughout where, the city of LA, it's a dressed down city. Now, there are places like Beverly Hills where you probably couldn't get away with it as much, but even then, I mean, you're seeing people roll around in high-end expensive cars, go into high-end restaurants, and they're in jeans and a t-shirt. They could care less. I mean, so in reality, anywhere you go in LA, it is a casual vibe, and it's something that I appreciate. Makes life a lot easier, in my opinion. All right, the 5th thing on the list, as anyone should know about Los Angeles, and that is the traffic. It is a nightmare. It's pretty much, this topic's pretty much on all my videos, but if you are first time to the channel or first time to seeing my videos here, you're going to want to know about the traffic. It's bad. Again, I mentioned that the city is so sprawled out and spread out that really to get to anywhere, you need to have a car, because our mass transportation system is lacking. They're working on it. They're getting better. They're creating projects. But in general, you're going to be in your car and you're going to be sitting in it. You're going to spend a lot of your day and ultimately a lot of your life sitting in the car. And again, I born and raised in it. For me, I just got used to it. I know there's people that have lived here all their lives and still can't stand it. Now, if I had a choice, I wouldn't want to be in the traffic, but I have found workarounds. I'll put on music. I will meditate in the car. I'll take care of work and the business in the car. I'll catch up with family and friends. And it's one of those things where not love it or hate it, because there's really no loving traffic, but it's just learning to deal with it. But you're going to see a lot of angry drivers. People are going to be pretty pissed off in their cars sitting in traffic. People want to go to their destination, and rightfully so, they're upset because it's taking forever. And that just goes back to, again, that we have so many people living here, lack of transportation, and we're so spread out. It's just a combination that leads to the amount of traffic that we have. And there are certain areas that are worse than others, like the 405 freeway and 10 freeway interchange in West LA. And in the San Fernando Valley, you've got the 101, 405 interchange. That's horrible. And then anytime you got to go through the downtown area, there's like 5 freeways that connect there. That could be quite a nightmare as well. And so you do have a lot of antsy drivers. You're going to want to give yourself plenty of time to get to your destination. Even using Waze or Google Maps, everyone else is doing the same thing, trying to skirt around the traffic, and you just end up going down side streets with more traffic. And so finding ways to deal with it, put on some music, do a little dancing in your car, catch up with friends. If you have a type of job where you need to be on your phone, get some work calls done. But there are times where, to go about 14 miles, it could take an hour. Sometimes even go less than that, like 10 miles, it's taken me an hour. And if you got to shoot across the city, forget it. We have traffic windows. There isn't really rush hour. You're going to be sitting in traffic basically from 7 a.m. to around 11 a.m. Then you've got this little freed up window between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Once 2 p.m. hits, you're going to be sitting in traffic most likely till 8 p.m. or so. And this is the weekdays. On the weekends, it's a little bit better. Unless you're trying to go to the beach during the summer, you're going to get caught up in that traffic too. And then if there's construction on the roads or the freeways or an accident, God forbid, it is a nightmare. That if you have to shut down lanes on the freeways, just forget it. You might as well just turn around and reschedule whatever you got going on. So I know you've heard it probably in my videos. People have talked to you about it, but until you really experience it, it is like one of the number one things that people cannot stand about Los Angeles. So make sure you're aware of this traffic nightmare in LA. Okay, the number 6 item on the list is the weather. Now, the reason why the weather is on here is, one, you should know that it actually is really that good. Now, it's coming from a local, someone who's born and raised here. I can tell you flat out that the weather is incredible, especially when you compare it to other parts of the country. Now, if you're a person that likes seasons, and there's quite a few of our clients that have moved here that kind of long for the seasons that they had where they used to live, you're not going to really get them here. Our seasons, we've got 2 of them. It's spring and summer. We get a little rain here, but it's not much. We don't get the fall colors changing. There are some streets that have some of those trees, but don't expect fall colors. Don't expect much of a cool down. And what's really weird is it kind of warps your sense of time. I know for me, like, half the time I don't know if it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, because it all kind of runs the same. Now, it does cool down during the fall and winter, but it still kind of runs the same. The sun is out constantly. You're not dealing with a rainy season. You're not dealing with storms. You're not dealing with snow. Whereas other parts of the country, and from my experience, like, when it's spring, when it's fall, when it's summer, when it's winter, because there are changes in the environment that indicate that. So it kind of helps guide you along where you are throughout the year. Now, it's kind of a weird thing to say because, you look at a calendar, or who cares where you are in the year, but it is an odd feeling that you can just go, 320 days, or 320 days of just sun. And it's amazing because you can just be outside constantly, whether you're an outdoor person or just being in the house with the sun shining through. It kind of adds an element of happiness. You get your vitamin D. It just feels good to see the sun and know that it's out there, and you're not dealing with shoveling snow, and you're not dealing with coats for rain. You're not dealing with weather under 40 degrees much. It's very comfortable, and it leads to an outdoor lifestyle. It leads to people hanging out more outside in the evenings, which is awesome. We've got beautiful beaches to go to. We've got tons of pools throughout city of LA. People love going in their pools in their houses. That's a popular thing to do because the weather's so great. I mentioned that there's 320 sunny days. Now, we do have our time periods where we've got our June gloom. That's when the fog comes in and doesn't really lift. The sun doesn't pop until maybe the later afternoon or at all. So throughout June, it could be a little gloomy, but it's still warm. May, they call it May gray. Which is like June gloom. It just rhymes differently. But again, most of the time, May is pretty sunny. The weather in the west side is near perfect. You're talking about 70, 75 degrees during the day, which is awesome. In the last few years, it's ticked up to about 80, but it's still nice to have the sun on you. And it cools down to maybe the 40s. Now, in the San Fernando Valley, it's a different story. It's a place where it gets really hot, because you're in this valley surrounded by the mountains, and the air just gets trapped there. So the valley, you easily hit triple digits for a big part of the summer. If not that, you're in the 90s. You could in springtime, it's 80 something, 85, could touch 90. it can get a little uncomfortable. It's a dry heat, so you're not, it's not humid like other parts of like the South. And I would say dry heat is more tolerable than the humidity, but it's still hot. The nice thing though, when it drops in the valley, it's 70 degrees. Now it makes it a little challenging to sleep and your air conditioning's on, but it's really cool to hang out at night, just chilling, and it's 70 degrees and you're in shorts and a t-shirt just relaxing. Just make sure you put some mosquito repellent because they come like crazy during the summer. And then if you're talking East LA, definitely warmer than parts of the West Side area. But in general, the sun is out, it's bright, it's beautiful, and we don't get massive rainstorms. Except for this past rain season, we had an historical amount of rain come through, but it's rare. If you're a person that loves seasons, LA is not going to be the place for you. But if you want to get away from all that, LA is exactly the place for you. All right, number 7 on the list is a fun one. I like to share this because it's only something that locals would know. And so if you want to talk like a local when you're talking about the freeways, because believe me, you are going to absolutely talk about the freeways throughout your day because it becomes an inevitable part of your life on how you get to places. And like how people talk about weather in other parts of the region, we talk about how we got somewhere because people want to know your secrets or how long it took you to get places because that's just a thing in LA. So know when you're in Los Angeles that when people say the 405, the 5, the 10, the 101, they're talking about the freeways. They're not talking about some random number. We like to emphasize the word the in front of our freeway system. I don't know exactly why. I think it's because it's become such a part of our culture that it gets that much emphasis. But no one calls it I-5 for Interstate 5 or US 101 for that freeway. It's called the. So when you're talking about freeways, just make sure you're saying the 10, the 405, or if people talking to you about that, just know that that's what they're addressing is the freeways. If you say the 5, perfect. If you say Interstate 5, not so much. All right, number 8 on the list is healthy lifestyle. Now, I think this is a good thing, but some people feel a little pressured when they move to Los Angeles. I've talked to my clients that they get a little overwhelmed with the healthy lifestyle in LA. It seems like there's just an overwhelming majority of people that love to be active, love to be outdoors. We're into our yoga. We're into our meditation studios. We're into sound baths. If you're not sure what that is, look it up. It's an amazing, relaxing experience where you've got the sound of bowls just kind of humming around, really relaxes the body. You've got breathwork stations. You've got so many businesses and outdoor spaces that are dedicated to helping people relax. Now, that could be because LA can be a hustle city and because we do get stuck in traffic and because there is such a strive to further your career in Los Angeles that maybe this is just something that the city needs and people found a need for it, so they opened up these types of establishments. But I'll tell you, it's really nice to have, especially if you're not used to being around that, because for me, I think it's important to have an active, healthy lifestyle. Just in general, personally, it makes me feel good. Now, by no means do you have to feel forced to do it, but it is going to be constantly around you. I mean, you have jogging clubs that you see on the streets. You've got hiking clubs that you see in the hills. You've got lots of people riding their bikes or their skateboards or still rollerblading. Yes, rollerblading is still a thing in Los Angeles. And when it comes to food, you have restaurants that are dedicated to salads. I mean, literally, that's all they sell are salads. And you've got vegan places. You've got vegetarian places. You've got places dedicated to keto diets, Whole30 diets. You name the type of food or diet that you're on, they've got restaurants specifically dedicated for it. And again, it may seem a little crazy to talk about, but it kind of blends into the lifestyles you hear. For me growing up in it, again, it was something that just felt natural. But I really enjoy having those options. I really enjoy having the activities all around me, and especially the outdoor activities that are all around me, because it's just something I like to do. And after an active day, I'll hit up a smoothie place or a juice bar. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I really do enjoy it, and it feels refreshing after some sort of hike or a meditation session or doing some yoga. All right, number 9 on the list is something that you should be aware of is our homeless issue here, our homeless problem. Now, homelessness is an issue nationwide, but in Los Angeles, it is quite evident. It has gotten worse over the last few years. You have a large homeless population. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of the homeless situation here in Los Angeles because that's not something I want to discuss. But I will say it's a problem. And for people to deny it's a problem, well, I think they're just kind of closing their eyes to the issue. We have full-on tent cities where you go underneath a lot of freeway underpasses and you've got 20, 30 tents. It's trash, it's dirty, it can be quite unsafe because there is a lot of crime that comes with homeless population. You also have a large substance abuse issue that can lead to homelessness. So you see needles, you've got open containers of liquor. So if you've got kids in a family, you've got to really stay away from a lot of these underpasses. And you've got to, if you're walking, you've got to find another way because it's just not a safe place to go. Now the city has tried to deal with it in their own way. In a lot of ways, they've allowed the situation to get worse. They put up portable showers, portable bathrooms, almost to encourage that it's okay to be out on the streets. Sometimes they have security around there, but most of the time they don't. And this affects just the general population. It affects all the businesses around it because people don't want to go anywhere near the shops that have these tent cities. And you see it everywhere. It's not just in our city centers. It's not just in the kind of the main business districts of each region. It is all over. And it is a weird feeling when you are either living in or you're going through, a community that you're talking about $1 million homes, multi-million-dollar homes, and right down the street, you have a homeless encampment. It's a weird juxtaposition. It's not a comfortable feeling. And again, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, housing is expensive here, but that's not the main reason why people are homeless in the city of Los Angeles. It has a little bit to do with it, but a lot of it has a mental health issue that really needs to be addressed and a substance abuse issue that needs to be addressed. Now, even when you go to the beaches, growing up, I never once thought about having any issues at the beaches, but today you need to be concerned about it. Venice Beach especially, you've got a large homeless population living right there on the beach, so it's not the greatest feeling. You've got to find the spots where it's a little bit more clear and clean. The Venice Boardwalk, notorious for being eclectic and all sorts of fun and oddities, but now you've got a large homeless element there. And if you go downtown, forget it. It is definitely inundated with homeless population there. But the weather I mentioned before, I think a lot of people end up in the Los Angeles area when you're homeless for a couple of reasons. Because one, the city somewhat tolerates and welcomes it. And also the weather. You can be outside and you're not going to freeze to death, unlike many parts of the country, or you're not going to get drenched constantly by any rainstorms. It does rain, but not as much as other parts of the country. So just be aware when you're moving to Los Angeles that we've got a massive homeless problem, and it's not getting any better anytime soon, unfortunately. All right, number 10 on the list is farmers market. This is another fun one. Now, farmers markets are so popular in Los Angeles. And they are in every region, every part of LA. So it's not like you have to drive somewhere far to go to find a great farmer's market. It's all local. So you have all of these fresh produce, local merchants selling their goods. They've got food. Sometimes they have food trucks, specialty items. It's a fun place to go. And it's all throughout the week. So any given day, you can find a farmer's market. Whether, it's in Culver City, it's in downtown, it's in Mar Vista, it's in San Fernando Valley. There are farmers markets every day of the week if you wanted to go to one. And it just becomes a way of life. Again, it goes back to that kind of the natural, that healthy lifestyle where people like to source their food locally. It's a big part of living in LA where the farmers come in, local farmers come in, locally source food. And a lot of the restaurant owners and the chefs, they come to these farmers market and get their fresh produce and fresh food there as well, which is awesome because you literally see the local chef coming in from one of the restaurants. He gets their food. You can go there that evening and you're eating this really nice food from a farmer's market. And it's fun. They've got music, entertainment, things for the kids to do. And it's just a great way to bring the community together. So when you're moving to LA, just be aware that farmer's market's a thing. So when people ask you to, hey, let's hit up a farmer's market, it's entertainment for us, and we love going there. And again, because it's so sunny throughout the year, we have farmers markets throughout the year, whereas a lot of other parts of the country, from my experience, they're pretty much dedicated to spring and summer. Once fall and winter go, those farmers markets disappear. Not in Los Angeles, you get it year-round. Okay, number 11 on the list is a unique one to, well, not just LA, but California. We've got earthquakes here, and if you haven't experienced an earthquake, it can be quite unnerving. Now, I'm used to them to a point. I've been through some big earthquakes. We had the 94 Northridge earthquake that was centered in the San Fernando Valley. When I was a kid, that was That was quite scary. We had a lot of damage to our house. FEMA came in, the federal government came in and had to help out a lot of people with the amount of damage there was a number of deaths. The freeways collapsed. So it can be quite scary. I've also been through a few other major earthquakes. It's an odd feeling. You really get no warning. They say we have these warning systems that give you like a minute to prepare. They don't work all that well. And they only work for some of the major ones. But if you've never felt the earth just all of a sudden start really shaking underneath you out of nowhere, and then you feel like the ground rippling and you look at your windows and they're bowing and bending, and then things are being thrown across the room, and the sound that it makes, it can be very unsettling. Now, tip, if you ever experience that, make sure you find something really hard to get under, like a big table, sturdy table. Don't stand in doorways that have doors, because those doors will come slamming shut and will do some damage to you. You don't want to be outside near power lines or trees. So the best thing you can do is to get under something that is really heavy. In the event that things are being thrown across the room or things that are crashing down, you have a bit of protection. You want to get there as soon as possible, because the crazy thing about earthquakes, you don't know if it's going to be a small little earthquake on the Richter scale of like a 3.0, or if it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow up to those 6s and 7s. And that's when it can get a lot of damage and can do a lot of harm. Now, we don't deal with hurricanes. We don't deal with tornadoes, and those can be quite damaging. You do get a warning, which is nice with those type of natural disasters, and they do happen a lot more frequently in other parts of the country than major earthquakes do in Los Angeles or in California in general. Everyone talks about we are due for the big one along the San Andreas Fault. It is long overdue. Thankfully, we have not experienced that. But you should know that the earth moves, and we're not just, earthquakes happen daily, but you don't really feel the ones unless they're 3.0 or bigger and they're centered around you. Know that the smaller ones, you'll feel them several times a year. The big ones, thankfully, are spread out many years apart. But just know the earth will shake, so be prepared for that. Okay, we're on item number 12, and that is a lack of mass transit. I maybe should have bumped this closer to when I talked about traffic or sprawl. But we don't really have a good mass transportation system. We lack any really good subways. We lack any good railways. Our buses are a mess. They've gotten better. I mean, when I was growing up, you really wouldn't find any of this. I was on the bus line. I used the Santa Monica bus, the number 8 to get me into Westwood, and the number 12 to get me into Santa Monica. Shoot, it's been a while. Just know that it was like a quarter to go on. Yeah, that dates me a bit, but those are the buses I took. They were clean. People were friendly. I can't say the same is true today anymore. The buses are quite dirty. They're not the greatest places to be, and I don't find them to be all that safe. And we have a rail line called the Exposition Line that they use old rail lines that used to be there in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and throughout Los Angeles. It goes east-west. They've revamped it. New cars, new stations. It looked nice, but again, just doesn't really connect with the city. You can get from Santa Monica to downtown, and which takes you through Culver City and parts of eastern portions of LA, but that's it. It doesn't really get you anywhere else. If you take that line and you get off, you still need to find transportation to get wherever you're going, unless you are literally going to spots right along that line, because there's nothing really connecting it. Now, we have a lot of different bus lines. We have some other rail lines, but they don't really take you to where you need to be, and that's the problem. You still need to either hail an Uber or a taxi or a Lyft, or find one of those bird scooters, or hoof it. You're going to walk it, or if you brought your bike, you can connect it to the bus or the rail, and you can then ride your bike. It doesn't really get you to where you need to be, and a lot of people, frankly, just don't use it because we're so used to the car culture in Los Angeles. It's such a big part of our lives. That's why you see so many awesome, really sweet rides here. Classic cars, which I'm a big fan of. My dad had a classic car and a 55 Ford Vic. Loved what he did with it. And you see other classic cars, you see cool exotic cars. But just in general, people have cars, and that's just the way it is here. So we don't really have a great transportation system. So just be prepared for that. If you move to LA, you're going to need a car. All right, we're on item number 13. This is another fun one, and you're definitely going to want to know this, or something you should know. When you move to Los Angeles, you're going to become a taco snob. It's just the way it is. It's a way of life here. Tacos are everything in Los Angeles. You can find taco restaurants, taco stands, taco trucks throughout the entire city. And I love it. It's really cool at our open houses. We have taco trucks come to our open houses. So like a community party. That's how important they are, at least in my life as a native Los Angeles resident. And people love coming to our events because they love free tacos. But we have tacos from all parts of South America and Central America. You can get whatever your vibe is, and we have it here in LA. There are some historical institutions. There's some new age places that just like if you live in LA, you absolutely have heard of them. You've got Tito's Tacos. You've got La Escuela. You've got Paco's Tacos, King Tacos, Taco Locos, Los Cinco Puntos, El Ruso, and more. Now, I just named a few. I'm going to get heat. I guarantee you in this video, I'm going to have comments that tell me those are not the best tacos. I just mentioned some top taco places that I personally enjoy, but you're going to find top 10 lists that just, depending on who you ask, that list will be different. But what people will say absolutely is we love our tacos in LA. And because we're so culturally diverse here, you're just going to find food from all over the world here, which is awesome. And because we are so close to Central and South America, we do get the flavors and the culture from there as well. That just shows up in our food, and especially in the great, wonderful taco. Okay, the number 14 item on our list is image everything in Los Angeles? Now, earlier in this video, I talked about how it's kind of a relaxed, laid-back vibe. You don't have to be worried about your dress. But it's more than that culturally, and it depends if you get caught up in it. And you can easily get caught up in it when you're living in Los Angeles because, well, there's so many influencers here on social media and on YouTube. There are so many people hustling in the entertainment world, whether that's TV, television, video games, and just a lot of corporate jobs here. We've got aerospace industry, high-end, high-paying jobs, high-end housing, that you can easily get caught up in the image or feeling like maybe you're left behind or left out of the whole image of being a part of Los Angeles. Now, for me personally, I don't let it get to me. It's not something that I strive for. I can care less, really. But I can see where people moving from other parts of the country or other parts of the world come to LA, and it feels like, oh, you've got to drive a fancy car. You've got to be in Beverly Hills to do all your shopping. You've got to go to Whole Foods, which is a kind of a high-end specialty market. You've got to go to the finest restaurants or whatever it is. You can get caught up in that or feel like that's something that you're forced into. But believe me, LA is so spread out and there's so many different cultural aspects to Los Angeles and so many regions that you don't have to let that get to you. But you know, you do see it around. You see lots of people online, posting their wonderful and great life. Of course, who knows what's really going on behind the scenes. You've got a lot of influencers here making their videos about what it's like to live in LA, and they're showing all the fancy sides and all the expensive high-end stuff. But believe me, LA is not all about that unless you really allow yourself to get caught up in it. Now, if you like that and enjoy it, LA is absolutely the place for you. It may not be quite like New York, but if you're into that, we've got all the regions that you're going to love living in or love going to for entertainment. And of course, we've got all the high-end car dealerships here, and we've got, super mega mansions here, if that's in your price range. And if it is, make sure you reach out. I've got great connections in that range. So image could be everything, but it's really what you make of it when you come to Los Angeles. All right, number 15 on the list is expensive housing. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of the prices of homes. One, LA is enormous. It really depends on the region that you're going to be choosing to live in. And within that region, it's going to depend on the neighborhood. I do have videos on my channel where we do talk about the cost of housing. But if you really want to know some details, make sure you reach out to us. I'll help you out with that, send you market information, or just have a general talk and can guide you that way. But when it comes to housing in Los Angeles, in general, it is expensive. You're talking about a median price point of about $900,000. That's for all of LA. Now, if you're going to be in that price range, you're going to be maybe in parts of San Fernando Valley, the parts of the northeastern portion of there. But if you're looking to move to like Beverly Hills, Hollywood Hills, Santa Monica, parts of West LA, you're easily talking 1.2, 1.5, all the way up to, of course, multi-million dollar homes. So LA is an expensive place to live in general. And then when you include the expensive housing, it could be quite overwhelming and could be quite a deterrent for people to move here to Los Angeles in general, or if you move here to become a homeowner, which is becoming more and more for that American dream to happen in Los Angeles. And frankly, it's why a lot of people are moving away from LA, is to move to places that are just a little bit more affordable, or they can buy a larger home, or just buy a home in general. So be prepared. I'm sure you're doing your research. As always, one of the number one things and first things that you're going to be doing is looking up the price of housing, because, well, I mean, you need a roof over your head. So that's what you're going to probably check out first thing. Again, if you need more information or want information about each specific region or each city within LA County, make sure you reach out to us. I'm happy to share all that information. Check out some of our other videos to get more details. As always, we're here to help people move and relocate to Los Angeles. We love it. I love living here. I love helping people move here. We've got lots of clients that have relocated to this city from all parts of the country, all parts of the world. And they've had great experiences, and we're glad that they're happy here. Make sure you subscribe, tap the bell to get notified when we drop new videos, hit the like button, comment below. We'd love to hear your comments about anything I've had to say and your opinions. On the next one, we'll see you then.